On this episode of That Kingsville podcast, we get down to brass tacks. We talk about everything.
All of it.
All of it, all in
From
1 hour.
From beginning to end.
We start from the beginning, we end at the end. No, this episode we discuss some local happenings and the hottest hot button topic in Kingsville right now.
Chloramination.
Boys soccer.
Boys soccer. Building height limitations in downtown. Join us for that and more on this episode of That Kingsville Podcast. That Kingsville Podcast is brought to you by Kingsville Brewery. Very excited to announce pup-friendly beer garden open May 19th. That's a Friday, gents.
Oh.
They're going to kick off another amazing summer season on the patio. Steven, love it. Bring the pup.
I'm going to start off with 2 beers. One of them I'm going to down while I take the other one and pour it all over my head. Just celebrate the heck out of that opening.
Summer! Stay tuned for more announcements as hours get announced and other exciting things are emerging from our favorite brewery, Kingsville Brewery. Thank you for supporting That Kingsville podcast, Kingsville Brewery. That Kingsville podcast is also brought to you by Murray Insurance. Are you frustrated with the current level of service you get from your insurance company? Are you concerned with some of your most important assets aren't covered the way they should be? Whether it's your car, your house, income, or your business, ask the professionals at Murray Insurance for a full review and get the peace of mind you need with your insurance. Call Murray Insurance today at 519-733-2331 or email service@murrayinsurance.ca. Today, for a great service, friendly local staff, guaranteed same-day callback, and claims concierge service. That number again, Steve, 519-733-2331. That number again.
What is it?
519-733-2331. Thank you, Murray Insurance.
2331?
2331.
733, right?
Klondike 733. Yeah, we had to have a conversation about a party line over the weekend too. Like somebody didn't understand what a party line was. That was a debacle. Like millennials, it was Gen Z did not have a clue that you had to share a phone line. Gary, you guys had like the first one in town, right? And it was like second one. Thank you, Murray Insurance, for supporting That Kingsville podcast. And it's not Klondike. It's 519-733-2331. Welcome to That Kingsville podcast. I'm your host, Dave Hunt. It's Kevin Black.
Sup?
Steve Ianson.
I'm excited about our guest tonight.
I know. The Invisible Man. He's mysterious. He's crazy. He's invisible.
I DM'd Britt, but she's tied up.
Yeah, you know what? That's the funny part is people have lives.
Yeah.
Maybe we've just exhausted and no one wants to talk to us.
Yeah, we're not
People
relevant.
have got to them.
Yeah.
No, actually, no.
People have got to them. Yeah.
No, actually, we do have a guest lined up for next week. We're going to actually do this 2 weeks in a row.
Right,
so we do have an important interview to conduct next week.
We do, very important interview, but we were hoping to get another important interview because one of our sponsors, Kingsville Brewery, had some significant changes they announced last week about the brewery. New head chef Billy Alexander joining the team. So that's really exciting. I've heard nothing but great things about his cuisine.
That and the hockey tournament.
Play for a Cure?
Yes. So Mark is going to kind of let us know how that went.
Yeah.
And I was down by the waterfront and saw all the picnic tables set out, which spells must be summer soon, I think.
Judging from the temperature that's forecast at the time of recording, this weekend should be
summer excited.
Yeah.
Some aren't because it gets too hot.
Thank you. You're going to hear a lot of goose honks today because it's the hour of Steve.
No, it's not. But I did get assaulted. I got assaulted by a guy.
You got
Yeah, he had milk, cheese, and butter. How dare he? And actually, that took a while. I got to give credit to it's like an Australian podcast, probably the some Australian idiots like us, basically. And I heard it on that one. So
is there anything else we heard in other podcasts we can talk about?
Probably.
It's an hour of podcast theft because I already our show format is a little weak today. We unfortunate. No, there's still lots of things that went on in Kingsville. That are going on in Kingsville that we can talk about. Like,
well, you mentioned summer, and there's a lot going to be going on. Obviously, we've touched on Open Streets and we've touched on the Highland Games, but
Hogs for Hospice just did
yep.
The blessing of the bikes.
Right. So there's that weekend coming up. Plus, obviously,
that just happened.
The
right?
No. The blessing did, but the Hogs in town, and also the Greenway Jam. I think haven't some of the dates and some of the acts been confirmed or locations.
Yeah.
Okay. It's done deal. Yeah.
Cool.
And who's headlining Hogs again? Is Honeymoon Suite?
Yeah, Honeymoon Suite's the headliner. No, it's Scott. It's Scott Stapp.
Yes.
Of Creed fame.
Arms wide open.
That's pretty good.
I sing in the shower.
The poor man's Eddie Vedder.
Oh yeah, no, yeah. So
lots more vibrato. Because like if Eddie Vedder's voice is like in the back of his mouth, and then Scott Stapp's
there's been a consensus or like some gentlemen's bets going around for people that I've talked to. It's like, is it going to be a good Scott Stapp show, or is it going to be one that we saw on TMZ with, like Scott Stapp and his, trials and tribulations? I said, no, it's going to be a good one because he's getting paid to be here.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's had some struggles.
Yeah.
But
those are over.
Yeah, let's hope so. I mean, not just for the show, but for, you never want to see anyone.
We can take him higher.
Well done.
Thank you.
Well done.
Thank you. That was a Creed song. For all of you.
Yeah.
Can you take? I'm not going to stop singing.
And then between my jokes and your singing, we are now at -2 listeners.
Yeah.
Because we are actually.
Hey, but we could break 200 subscribers on YouTube with your help, folks. And $49.95 a month, you can help a poor, starving podcast from Kingsville.
All we need now is Big Bird standing behind us.
We're on our air all night.
So then the country night is the one, I think, that if you're a country fan, you're not that you're not excited for Creed, but I mean, Creed's cool.
That hurt, didn't it?
But I keep getting it wrong because I grew up on old country, so it's not Buck Owens, it's Jake Owens.
Sorry, there's more Owenses in country music.
Buck is a legend.
Sorry. Is that what was on, heavy rotation in Mimi?
That was Buck Owens. Yeah, Waylon Jennings.
I know that.
Hank Williams. Those are those are staples. And I don't know if Jake's a relation of Buck. Maybe
Steve's googling it.
Maybe
real quick.
Probably not. I'm sure that there's a few
I'm
Owens around.
Responding to a shot in the dark for a guest, but
late now.
Yeah, you guys keep chatting. Just leave me be for a minute.
Cool.
Hey, guy on the street, you want to go on a podcast?
I saw someone out for a walk. Wonder what they're up to.
Go get
Dog was cute.
See, your dog looks nice. You want to put him on camera up to 200 people on YouTube?
So Hogs is hogging, and then Greenway Jam headliner is it's French, Langlois, right?
Yes.
Yeah, Paul Langlois.
Paul Langlois.
Yeah.
Langlois.
Yeah.
From
from
the hip. Yeah. So, and that'll be cool.
Yeah. Well, again, with the facility, they've moved locations now, right? Now we're now there in Metawas Park.
Yeah, which is interesting.
Yeah. So we'll see how that format works for them, and excited to see. I think I'll be here this year for that, so I may go.
Yeah.
Usually we're traveling in the summer, but that's
That's
sorry.
Falling apart.
Gary, I'm trashing the set here. I'm sorry.
Did they ever get approval to I don't think I ever actually
went to council on Monday.
It did go to so finally went to council. So after they were selling tickets, they went and asked for permission.
Cert went on Monday.
And did it get approved? Because that'd be awkward.
I didn't hear any contrary. I have not yet watched the video. Been a little busy.
Because
is that for certain? No,
no,
it's 3.
Sorry.
No,
see,
you hit your quota.
You hit
your quota.
There's no quota.
Yeah, too many a minute.
Yeah. Well, no, he you know what? He can pace himself. He's good. He doles him out when he needs to.
Yeah, it's been relatively tame the last couple.
We've had a lot. We've been very guest heavy.
It's been heavy. Yeah.
Very guest heavy.
Which is good.
All right, well,
It hasn't been the three morons talking, ad nauseum for a while.
I take it back. Fine.
We're just going back.
I'm not offended.
Going back to the roots.
Sorry to cut you off. I am sorry.
Wow.
Hotkeys.
What a drop.
Is this like our 3-year anniversary almost?
Is it?
Well, I don't know. It's 3 years since.
Oh, we should have got a cake.
Paper closed.
Yeah, it's 3 years since the paper closed. We're only 2 years into this, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
So
okay. I was going to say that's something.
This season 3, right?
Season 3. Yeah, we just started season 3.
Cool.
Yeah. I know. Yeah. Well, and if we are understanding how well we're received, people enjoy the content and whatnot, and are appreciative that we're doing what we're doing, and you can listen to it in your car or on your Google Home while you're
on a boat, on a train, on a plane, a scooter, walking the dog.
I thought you were going to turn that into a Dr. Seuss rhyme.
I ran out of rhymes as working on it. Train, plane, then rain,
crane,
walking in the rain, starting to flame.
There is one major topic that's been happening. Oh no, you got to point
just
fingers.
On the lane.
Oh, boy.
Oh yeah,
down the lane.
Down the lane.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
guys, there's a hot button topic that's causing a whole bunch
in
of
a crane
fracas in town.
Crane? Is it a good story?
Yeah, it's not a good story. It's so a few weeks ago there was.
I get it.
I love them. I love them. It's good content, folks.
That's good.
So what's going to get us a whole bunch of listeners to this podcast? We'll talk about the number one hottest issue in town. If we're quiet, yeah. Us guys don't know what they're talking about. Main Street Development Committee went to the Committee of the Whole a couple of weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
I was present. There was a lot of deliberation that was happening.
Wait, you're at a committee?
Committee Dave was at a meeting.
Yeah,
you're at a committee.
Hey, it was rounding out the end of my committee-ship.
Okay. Anyway, sorry to cut you off, Dave.
No, it's fine. I'm used to it.
So wait, you were there representing a committee at a committee?
At a committee.
Okay.
It's committee
so
section.
you went full committee.
Double
He's got
committee.
a lot of committeements.
I did. No longer. I'm a free agent now. But
anyone drafting?
No. They in fact got rid of most of them.
Oh, that's right.
They did, yeah. So the hot button topic was a lot of the things that were going around. Are we a small town? How do we continue to preserve the small town feel? Things like signage, things like architectural design. So one of the issues that was discussed was, should we get rid of parking on Main Street? No, we shouldn't get rid of parking on Main Street because we need the parking. And the idea was to add a multi-use path that really isn't conducive to, good traffic flow if you continually have to drive around the block because you can't get a parking spot, thus increasing the potential traffic problem.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to say, do we get rid of parking on Main Street to make it 4 lanes?
Oh, it should be. It should be a highway. It should be very much so a highway.
Pedestrian overpasses.
Yeah. Second issue was, should the town seek heritage designation for properties identified regardless of whether or not the homeowner or property owner, I should say, wants to. So this one is a bit of, a controversial one as well, because if you own a property that could be a heritage property, and you don't decide to do it yourself, the town may force a heritage designation upon you. So the Committee of the Whole voted towards seeking a heritage designation, regardless of the property owners.
Whoa.
Yeah. So apparently there was. Sorry, Steve.
No. Okay. Can we discuss? Can we offer? I don't know the exact ins and outs of it, and I understand where the heritage. I don't want to say the Heritage Committee because I don't know if they were the ones pursuing it, but those who certainly have a vested interest in the heritage buildings, where they're coming from. But I mean, it's a slippery slope, because if that goes, if I were to own a home, if I owned a home, which could be potentially, and I'm against it, I'm looking to sell right away.
How does it hold up in the Planning Act? Because I don't think that the town can actually force you to have to abide by heritage. Like there's no heritage designation planning rules that they can force you to do. That, well, the town can force you, and then you would just go and win at the tribunal.
Yeah, and you know what? I'm sorry that I'm not as educated in the specificity on this one. This wasn't the point that I was focusing on at that meeting.
No, I know, but this is just...
Yeah.
I feel like that...
There's contention because, just as Steve said, like, hey, if I'm a property owner and I don't want to make that commitment, but somebody else decides that my property is relevant for whatever their initiative is it okay for them to dictate how my property is and whatnot?
And that's that.
Yeah,
it's a tough one. I mean, if it's a public building, it's different, but it's a privately owned home.
Yeah,
and you can't. There's so many things that you cannot tell me what I can or cannot do with my property. Right? I get it. There's property standards bylaws in effect that you have to, keep it
maintained,
cleaned and what have you. But to then turn around and say, okay, we're designated heritage, you'd get all kinds of different reactions. Some people, would be, okay, I totally understand. It's a beautiful home. It's a heritage home. I'm good with the designation. Mm-hmm. And you'll get those who'll say, no, you know what? No, I don't want it. And maybe over time they still own the property, but they fail to sort of maintain it to a point where, when they're ready to move on from it, it's no longer...
And it
becomes derelict. Sure. And that's a stretch, but I don't know, it's a really tough situation to put a homeowner in.
So yeah, we'll see how that one shakes out. Again, the committee of the whole only voted or made a motion to council, which is themselves,
yeah,
to act to pursue heritage designation in relevant cases. So we'll see how that shakes out. Again, there's a lot of specificity that unfortunately we're not going to drone on about in our.
It's funny. Like committee of the whole is basically just setting an appointment in your iCal.
Yeah, for them.
Yeah, it's like, oh yeah, I guess in a week we'll talk about this again.
We've
decided to add this to the calendar.
Remember Committee Dave?
But yeah, that heritage designation is part of the building a bunch of homes all over the place act. Oh, building more homes.
Faster.
Building more homes faster. Like
quickly.
I feel like they could have come up with a better name.
It's
build more homes quick
today. Third point was signage limitations, designation, and whatnot, and that's going to come up later with the strat plan down the road. But basically, it's going to limit, no neon flashing signs, things of that nature, some facade kind of stylistic guidelines and whatnot.
What about written on Bristol board?
That's
one of my favorites.
For sale, yard sale.
What about people dancing with signs?
Is that a plague in town?
No, but I didn't know if that fell under the signs, right? When you got...
No, I think we're talking permanent signs.
I actually, that's the way they get around it, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's the loophole.
Right. Mm-hmm. And it's not the, we already have some signage bylaw is in place, right? With the temporary ones with the neon letters that used to plague the landscape.
And they don't want to impact the sign dancing economy.
No, well, I only asked because, you don't see many in Kingsville. I know Little Caesars obviously has had people doing it, but you see them mostly for the cannabis stores. Like there's one
on Walker Road
and one out in Emeryville. There's usually someone on the corner just kind of like, shaking and you know what?
There was a guy on Huron Church. I forget. It was probably Little Caesars when I used to drive to the West End all the time, that it was an art form. Like this guy, I don't know if he took like baton lessons or what, but you saw the sign, but you didn't see him much because it was flipping and flying, is behind his back and is flying all over his head, and it was something to see. This guy was not like, he was doing his job.
10,000 hours, right? 10,000 hours to be an expert at anything.
Yeah,
10,000 hours of practice, 10,000 hours of sign flipping.
Well, I think isn't that the apprenticeship? Like you have to do 10,000 hours of sign flipping before you can become an official sign flipper.
You have to apply to the sign flipping union.
Yeah.
Well,
Last point.
All I know
Sayuna.
No, I won't go there. I won't go there.
Last point that was, and this is really the hot button one that got everybody, in a tussle. The height and building requirements in town. So,
as Steve said, Dave, tell us the story.
Once upon a time, there was a couple of buildings that got erected in Kingsville, and everyone got really upset. What was a one-story building turned into a two-story building, and everyone got very sensitive about building heights.
And somehow that two-story building is the height of a four-story building. Like there's a 6-story apartment building behind it, and I'm pretty sure it's shorter than the 2-story medical building. Like what? Are they growing like a tomato crop in the attic there? Like I don't understand what's happening.
Stylistically, that roof peak is on a 90-degree angle or 88-degree angle. That just goes right to the sky. It's the roof.
Right. So it's how you get to see the green giant.
Yeah. Just climb the beanstalk. So yeah, that was when everybody got highly sensitive about building heights. And you know what? The building in the middle of town, at the Four Corners, that was always the big white elephant in town. And now we've got the medical building that was another point of contention for a lot of people in town. To your point, the 2 6-story buildings that are immediately behind that property are now erected fully and are beginning the finishing steps. Other projects in town have also been greenlit. There's a 3-story that's immediately to the west of the high school. Mm-hmm. There's another one that is to go up at 183 Main. That's a 3-story. And there are proposals for other 6-story apartment buildings in and around those adjoining properties. So the field that was one of the potential properties for the future school build that didn't end up being used for that. There's a proposal for an apartment building, 6-story there.
Well, and I think Dennis was on when we were talking about that development.
I don't remember.
Well, we had someone was on. But maybe it wasn't
John.
But we were talking about that development when because it was originally going to be that building was going to be at the back of the property, and there was going to be no actual access to that development off of Main Street. But now the plan is for that 6-story building to be right at the road instead, so that all that traffic would feed directly onto Main Street instead of the way that they had initially told us it was going to be.
Right. Yes. And then we also have other proposals around town. I want to say it's 140 Division North, vacant field right now, just past Palmer.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a proposal. I believe that's a 6-story proposal as well. So the Main Street Development Committee's original scope of the study was Main Street from Spruce to Prince Albert. And at this committee of the whole meeting, the scope kind of changed. So the administration was proposing zones of areas of development. So the red zone, or zone 1, being building limitations from church to church to church to church. So you got the Prince Albert Church. You've got what's the one to the Division South?
Upworth.
No, the street though.
Mill
Street. You would have Spruce to, let's call it Pulford.
Okay.
Right?
Yep.
So that being zone 1. Zone 2 being Heritage to Prince Albert. Let's call it Jasperson to Spruce.
Did you catch that? The southern drawl on Jasperson?
I did.
Okay.
I did hear that.
Okay.
And then other, outwardly area for that. So what the town was proposing was in certain areas there was building height and stylistic limitations for these areas, and this is what caused a lot of anger, a lot of frustration. So part of the design demographic that they were proposing were 3-story buildings and 6-story buildings, but after 3 stories there'd be an offset of the upper stories. So that at the streetscape looking up at the building, you don't see the upper tiers or the upper floors of that building. So thus giving you the impression that it is a smaller building than it actually is. Now,
just need a fog machine.
One would argue there's two sides of the street, and if I'm on the opposite side of the street and I look up, I see all 6 stories of that building.
So where do they put the mirror?
It's called Copperfield. He made the Statue of Liberty disappear. 747. He made a jet disappear.
Hey,
he can make buildings disappear. So here it is. Everybody's got their opinion. Everybody's up in a tussle because they all have their opinion about what town should be. There's a big movement for the preservation of the small town feel. There's also people in the court of, well, we need to be able to provide affordable housing options and densification to meet the provincial mandate and whatnot. So it's, where do you fall on this issue? What side are you on?
I do find that the recommendation to have the higher density buildings further away from the downtown core and lower density closer to the downtown core, probably the exact opposite of what all planning guidelines say across the province, where you're supposed to have higher density near your downtown core and lower density away from your downtown core.
But we're not a city.
Yeah.
Not yet.
Do you think Kingsville's going to turn into a city overnight?
Maybe.
It's crazy.
But is it, like, am I wrong? Isn't that the standard development playbook? Is you want your higher density closer to the core of your town?
Yeah, that's.
I don't like 6 stories in downtown either. But making the argument that it's okay to have 6 stories close to town, or 3 stories close to town and 6 stories away from town. Yeah.
I guess
seems strange.
If you look at it as sort of neighboring municipalities, what have they done?
Oh, there you go. That was the point I was going to make.
Okay, so here we go. We've got Leamington. Let's start with Leamington. You've got on Shirk Street, you've got a couple of 10-story buildings. Mm-hmm. Obviously not in downtown. Along Robson Road, you've got a couple of 6, 8, 10. I don't know what they are. A
bunch of them.
Where's Leamington's downtown?
We'll get there. Let them go.
Okay. No, like for reference, so because if you're saying that they're not, that's closer to Walmart than you would be to.
Let him finish his point.
Okay, so that's an interesting, because I always considered downtown as basically Talbot Neary.
Of course, yeah,
right?
Most people would.
Historically, but then there's that whole other debate of Leamington as to what is to. I mean, the downtown has suffered because of, anyway. That's okay, but then you think about Amherstburg. And I don't know how well you guys know Amherstburg, but
a bit.
So along Dalhousie, you've got a couple of, I think, 6-story. There's a couple of 3 stories right across from the Coast Guard, and then there's another building setback which has 3 stories, and then right on Pickering and Dalhousie, basically right down the river, there's a couple of taller buildings. You go further up Pickering, just to the other side of Sandwich Street, and there's 2 very tall buildings right there. Where is Amherstburg's downtown? Amherstburg, right? You think, okay, is downtown sort of Richmond and Dalhousie? Maybe. Is it where Walmart and Canadian Tire are? Either side of Pickering? Well, right. Amherstburg doesn't necessarily have a downtown in my mind. Like, as far as like it almost stretches from Alma to the Tim Hortons on the south.
So what you're describing is urban sprawl.
Right. Yeah. So that's what I was going to say. They're sprawled out. Leamington's is definitely away from what would historically be the downtown. With Kingsville, and this is the hard part, is I guess I don't go to Amherstburg enough to say these tall buildings, they don't fit. They're an eyesore or whatever. With Kingsville, it's all new. Nothing, I don't think, was higher than 3 stories. And I want to say, I heard this years ago, and maybe it was just somebody being a little bit facetious or whatever, but it was along the lines of they weren't allowed to build anything in Kingsville taller than the spire of the St. John Church. And that could be wrong. That could be maybe just been somebody being...
Wives' tale?
Well, I think too, ladder trucks have something to do with it too, right? Like, you need to be able to fight the fire on the top floor.
We'll just get the fire first.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Okay, so with I guess And then the fact of the matter is, and I understand where people's frustrations come, because all of a sudden it is a lot in a very short period of time. We have gone from nothing taller than, 3 stories to, the condo at the end of Division.
Yep.
And all of a sudden, 2 6 stories. And now they want to build 4 or 5 more?
Mm-hmm.
And
potentially.
So I guess if I'm going to, I'll finish my thoughts and then turn it over to you guys.
Back to you, Kevin.
But my concern, and I didn't even think of the firefighting aspect of it, which is obviously a very good point. But we've heard for years that we have the capacity, we have the sewage capacity, we have the water capacity. Because I know in talking to my dad, like, he said a couple of times, well, where's everything going? Where's everything coming from? And I did have a conversation with somebody the other day, and I know I've raised this before on the podcast, but again, where's the stormwater going to go? If we keep building over all this arable land, where's it going to go? I get it. It will drain in certain spots, but when we have those storms, we are taking away a lot of I don't want to say floodplain per se, but we're going to run out of room for water. And where's it going to go? It's going to go up. So great if you're on stories 4, 5, and 6. Maybe that's why they're building up.
Sure.
But, and the other part of it is, and it came up briefly with Thomas before I shut up and you guys shut me down, which was good to do. But traffic, like, we have heard for nothing in the last 2 or 3 years as to what's going to alleviate the traffic problem. And it is certain times of day. So I was driving through Kingsville today at about 3:30, 3:35. And it is a busy time in one sense because Kingsville Public School is just let out. So you've got a lot of parents driving, you've got buses going in different directions, and it slows traffic. I was also going by the high school during lunch hour. So you've got kids who are looking to cross safely right across from the high school at Santos. So they're hitting the switch, and that is a long light. And so that backs up. So there are different reasons for it. It's not just volume, it's timing of day. But again, you're bringing more people in. You want more people to come to the community, and I get it. It's more tax base, it's more revenue. Then you can do more things and bring in more people. But they've all got to get somewhere. And especially with Road 2 closed.
Yeah.
And maybe I'm talking out of both sides of my mouth, and maybe I'm thinking, okay, if Road 2's open, maybe there isn't such a big problem. But I don't know that we have the infrastructure to get people on. And the last point I'll make real quick.
He's trifecta.
Yeah.
I really want to talk about that floodplain.
Good
thing,
for
please
you.
keep going.
The last thing I'll say is I've heard people raising issues, particularly on Emily and Houston. So the just beyond Pele Island Winery, if you're heading towards Leamington, concerns about people driving through their neighborhood. Those concerns are legitimate. I'm also one of those people.
Yeah,
right?
Me too.
But I'm one of those people because I went to Truax the other day, I'm thinking, okay, great, I'm going to make a left-hand turn.
Nope.
No, I'm not. I'm going to make a right-hand turn, and then I'll go up Kratz and take Road 2. No, I won't. Okay, I'm sorry, folks. I will make sure I hit all the stop signs. I will come to a complete stop. I will drive slowly, and I did, and I ventured my way around, and I enjoyed the boulevards on
lovely
Lakeview. And I exited and I went back up Weigel towards Maine. Mm-hmm. And I'm sorry for everyone who lives on, we probably don't have any listeners on Emily and Houston, but if you do live on those streets, Grandview,
we do.
Lakeview, I'm just
what are you talking
listeners.
Anyway. Yeah, I was one of those people. I don't like doing it because I want the direct route, but people are going to find a way.
Well, and back to your point about the storm water, anyone that doesn't think that's a real issue, just talk to the houses that live behind IDA. Well, probably talk to the people that live in the houses behind IDA
directly.
Oh yeah, they had no idea what they were in for.
Yeah, as soon as that development was put up, their basement
wheel honk
their basement started flooding.
Yes, they did.
Yeah.
And it cost the town hundreds of thousands of dollars to fix the stormwater down Weigel because they hadn't planned properly for that development and the impact it was going to have on stormwater management. Mm-hmm. And every time it rained, their Councillor Tony Gaffin lives right there. Like every time it rained, their basements would fill up. And so that's a significant issue that hopefully the town is investigating a little bit better than they did when they allowed IDA to go forward. I mean, obviously that's a long time ago.
Well, it wasn't IDA at the time. It was Shoppers.
Well, Shoppers at the time,
get that
right.
straight.
It was Shoppers.
The current tenant.
Well, it's not them.
No, it's
not the developer. It's the town. Like that's stormwater management is the town is responsible to tell the developer what to do. The developer is responsible for doing what the town tells them. Mm-hmm. And no different than you can't really be mad. And we can have this argument about 100 times, but you can't really be mad at the medical center building people because the town allowed them to put up a 4-story, 2-story building.
Skyscraper.
Yeah, a skyscraper 2-story building at the road. So like you can't, that's the town is responsible for ensuring that stuff. And I don't think that it's strange that if you have lower density housing in between where you have a downtown and a sizable commercial core, that all of a sudden you're kind of in that Leamington Walmart limbo where are now you starting to densify an area that's around Jasperson and Maine that all of a sudden now is that your downtown. Mm-hmm. Sure, your old buildings are at Division and Maine, but your main commerce center and main housing center is all of a sudden at Jasperson and Maine.
That was the point I was going to make about Leamington and their poor planning of when they decided that they were going to abandon the downtown core and push everything to Erie South.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, it had a lot of available land. But the fact of the matter is now you're forcing everybody to go to that part of town and thus abandoning your heartbeat of what the town was at one point in time. And that's done over many different types and styles of actions that the town did. It wasn't an intentional thing. It's just a product of when they allowed development after development after development that were highly sought after to push to one end of town. Businesses uptown that compete against Walmart all go out of business. That's a fact, right? Your mom and pop clothing shop can't sustain business when you've got Walmart undercutting them by 50% or more, right? So those are the usual tenants that are in that downtown core.
Or are you going to go shop at the place that's a 2 or 3 minute drive away? Or are you going to go shop at the place that's a 2 or 3 minute walk away? And if you're putting your heaviest population base outside of your main downtown area, then all of a sudden, why are people going? Like people will still, don't get me wrong, this isn't the same. People will still go downtown, quote unquote downtown Kingsville, but these decisions are the ones that are the trickle effect that will lead to 20 years from now when our kids are saying, why are the businesses downtown not busy anymore? Mm-hmm. And everything is out at the outskirts of the town.
So let me throw in another, curveball into this conversation. So I was fortunate enough to be out in Southern California last week for work. And I was in Anaheim, California, right?
Committee meeting?
No, not a committee meeting. An exposition and not a committee meeting. Anaheim, California has 2 major stadiums. So the Angels play and the Ducks play within a kilometer of each other's facilities. So they have developed that entire district of stadium, sports entertainment, bars, restaurants with housing, none exceeding 3 stories. None. 0. Every one of the residential buildings, every one of the commercial buildings, 3 stories. And that is a major Californian city that's planned an entire district area around sports entertainment facilitation, but with cohabitation of residential, commercial, and entertainment end of things. And it's all 3 stories. So I question, why does a small town like Kingsville need 6 stories? Why don't we facilitate and right size and appropriate 3-story buildings, which in a general consensus, everyone would agree that would be the height limitation. What is it, 11 meters, I believe, if we really want to get technical, 11 meters being the highest, or not higher than the spire on the Catholic Church, right? if a major city in the United States is doing this and that's their goal and initiative, why would we defer and change any kind of initiative towards something different? Why aren't we taking a look at a model city and a model location and understanding that case study? There are more than enough examples in Ontario that we can take a look at and say, you know what? Hey, there's a lot of concern on both sides of the coin, right? 6-story, 3-story, where should it be? What should we facilitate it with? What's good? What's bad? How do we accommodate it? We're all trying to solve it in this little fishbowl of what we think in town is going to happen. We think. We don't know for sure because the steps in the plan hasn't happened. We want change. No, we don't want change. We want development. No, we don't want development. Great. There's always going to be naysayers and sayers for every issue. But the problem is we haven't taken a case study or set of case studies and looked at what the impact was when X, Y, Z happened.
Beyond the height, why do we need so many of them? We have 2 going up, and now you're saying that there's at least 3 more proposed?
And that was the other point that I was going to make.
Sorry.
No, you're fine, Steve. You're just jumping ahead. It's part of the conversation. That's a legitimate concern. Because when you have a surplus of things, then what does that do? That starts to devalue what the value of those properties are. There's a high rate of vacancy. Property owners need occupancy in order to sustain their economic structure. So what do? They start dropping the price. Then people get upset because, hey, you bought in at $550,000, but that guy over there bought in at $400,000 because he waited a year and the landlord couldn't rent out or sell that property. Like these are issues that occur when there are too much of one thing that isn't in an absolute immediate need to sustain that body / population, whatnot. So if we build too many of them, what does that mean?
My next concern then, like listening to all of this, is simply we've discussed what potential land uses could be for the current Kingsville Public School and Kingsville High School. Yep. Why not put more 6-story buildings up? Like, that's the mentality that I'm afraid is going to come out of this, right? And we're just going to be this, if you, there are realtors who have used drones to, showcase the home and the area of a home. And Kingsville looks great. Like, I've seen drone footage of somebody, like a drone over Lakeside Park. Mm-hmm. Looks great. And all of a sudden we're just going to, I don't want to say, choose my words carefully here. No, but we're going to kind of, all you're going to see are 6 stories. You're going to pull up on the ferry. Well, maybe you'll pull up on the ferry.
Don't do that. Is it ever coming back?
Possibly. No, but you're gonna come in and you're just gonna you're gonna drive like, oh, this is beautiful. This is a nice street. Look at all the trees here on Division South, and then boom, boom,
yeah,
boom,
you're
boom.
Pave paradise and put up a walking path.
Yeah, like if only that was a Creed song, because that would have fit. That would have fit perfect for. But I thought of something else too. Is like, and again, it goes back to simply utilities. I remember when I first started covering Union Water, so like 20 years ago. And at that time, there was a real concern for the capacity at Union Water. And like the flow was like, the maximum flow was like 24 million gallons a day. That number sticks out with me.
Yeah.
And they were looking to expand it to, I think, 28.
Remember chloramification?
I do.
Have you ever heard of chloramification?
But going back to my point,
like
we'll come back to that. No, that was interesting.
Millions. Look into that.
So then they had like, they proposed, new greenhouses, all new builds. And this was before the big greenhouse boom, would have retention ponds and everything like that. And I get it. Made sense. So I remember like the number was something like 23 point something one day in the summer. They were so close to the maximum capacity on that day. And then the lawn watering restrictions came and all that kind of stuff. But if that was 20 years ago, before obviously any of these 6-story buildings, before a lot of the greenhouse growth, and I know they did expand, but are we going to and again, this is something we should research and maybe contact Union Water, but
it's not our style.
No, but are we going to? I do worry that.
Style.
Are we going to get to that point? And I guess it's something we can look into for future episodes. Are we gonna get to that point where Union Water again is going to be maxed out?
I can tell you that at our farm, Leah Maria's, just off of Seacliff Drive, where there's a lot of
we get the point.
Flower baskets for sale for Mother's Day. We had applied because we put up a new a smaller greenhouse.
Is that why we have fresh asparagus available?
You heard about asparagus season, eh? It's available from Leah Maria's. Wasn't even me. So, but we had put in for a water main upgrade because we wanted to upgrade our water line we're at 1.25 inches, and we wanted to go to 2 inches coming into our farm, because that way we can have a bigger greenhouse. We can water more of our fields with town water, so that we have a pond, but this way that we have a solid backup to be able to water. And we were denied because there's not enough capacity on the water mains in town. The work they're doing along Road 2 is alleviating some of that pressure, but the greenhouses in our area for a long time, and I don't want to say it's still going on because this was a couple of years ago, but there were at that time restrictions on building because there wasn't enough water pressure and water capacity.
That's still
a thing.
Yeah.
Like and residential developments is different. The water use is obviously extremely different, but still, water capacity at Union Water and the capacity in those mains is still an issue.
Right, and to be clear, Union Water services Kingsville and Leamington.
Correct.
A little bit of Essex, and a little bit of Lakeshore too.
Yeah.
So it's a significant area with significant new builds, new property, new greenhouses. That's something we can inquire about.
There are ramifications for every type of development. There's consequences, good and bad, and ones that frustrate issues that weren't issues before, and ones that alleviate issues that were prevalent in society. It's that catch-22, devil's advocate. You got to play with everything. My point, and I think I'm going to speak for, I guess, a larger population of things, is to your point about in 20 years, was everything that we did enough? And did we have the right information that we were using to base those decisions upon for the best opportunity for future prosperity in Kingsville? Right? Like it opened my eyes to see Anaheim, California, around 2 multi-million-dollar stadium facilities. Not one high-rise. The hotel I stayed in was a 4-story. It was the tallest building around. The office buildings were not much taller than that. Like it was crazy how the development around, major stadiums was 3-story. And it got me thinking, is like, well, wait a minute. Why is a major American city that obviously has millions of people living in it facilitating this? So, I would urge our council and anyone who can make decisions in order to properly inform the public so that when decisions get made, it's based in some fact with some case study information, so that it's not just because, Terry said, 6 stories are what we need, so we followed Terry. And, Terry was wrong because 6 stories is not what we need. No, it's like Terry went to, Elora, or went to Hamilton, or wherever, and got this information when development of XYZ style happened, which is what's being proposed in Kingsville. Here was the outcome.
Right. And obviously the province has a housing shortage
mandate.
And
at the end of the day, homes, whatever it was.
At the end of the day, is this being done because it falls within the best land use planning? In which case, if it does, the provincial fits the mandate, fits provincial planning, everything like that, people, you and I, Kevin, can protest all we want and complain, and ultimately it has to go ahead because it fits within the provincial guidelines, unfortunately.
Well, I'll tell you, this morning and for the last 2-3 weeks, whenever I leave to go to work and I go to make a left at the light on Jasperson onto Main, it takes me 3 stoplights to get through that intersection.
Well, that's not fair because Road 2 is still closed.
Right. But
and when I was doing that commute too, it wasn't quite that dense.
It's true. But there is still more housing going up in that area, right?
I agree.
And they changed the signal light timing because there was more people were backing up on Main Street than were supposed to be.
Whatever happened with not allowing access into Tim Hortons and Taco Bell from Maine? I thought we were expropriating land and having rear access for those lots. I thought that was a thing. What happened to that?
Something else we can ask him.
I don't know. Yeah, it's crazy. Well, needless to say, right? Very polarizing topic. It's been something that's been mentioned in general conversation amongst friends and people I've run into. So that's why I thought we should kind of address it here today, seeing as how, some people think that we're informative and they like to listen to us in their car, in a bar.
We help people clean their house.
We do.
Yeah, people put us on and they get more work done.
They do, because I just got to get through this so I can turn this off.
People have listened to us in their shower. They told me. To the grocery store today, Steve, you're in the shower with me this morning. Let me think about that one.
Lovely.
Was she cute?
We can't.
He's a nice guy.
We can't end this episode without rubbing it into Kevin a little bit.
Oh, come on!
Sorry, no. Hey, it's not over.
I know.
It's
not over.
So they're playing as
currently.
we speak.
I'm waiting for
You're gonna look at it?
I'm waiting for Matt Murray to come in, and he'll be the savior, and he's just going to backstop him with 9 straight. 11 straight victories.
So it's happening right
12?
now. It actually
12.
The game puck drop was when we started this podcast.
Correct. So in the
it
50-ish
is
minutes.
So it is 0-0 end of the first.
So there's still a chance.
Leafs shots are even. Yeah. Yeah. There's still. Yeah.
Sports.
I mean, sure.
Sports. Yeah, it's a little bit of the wind out of the sails after went 2-0.
Well, when you asked me, you're like, "Are you sure you're okay with missing part of the game?" Like, dude, I've been watching the Leafs lose. I know what it looks like. I know how this plays out. Been around.
But you want to see him at
The Leafs had 6 shots
in one period,
and Florida had 7.
Yeah, a fairly even match so far.
Any high school sports? What's going on at the
soccer? Maddie Stanley and Natalie Mann won I would say Swassa badminton gold.
Ooh.
Could be wrong, but I'm quite sure they did that. So good for them. A couple of
potentially congratulations.
Yes.
Grade 9 athletes. Well, either way, they did great in badminton. Junior boys and girls soccer is just kicked off their season. The senior teams, the girls finished the regular season 5-1, so they host a quarterfinal.
Ooh.
And the senior boys finished 4-1-1, second out of all the AA teams. And they host Tecumseh next week. I just checked the scores to see who won the playing game. So we've got to play Tecumseh next, I want to say Tuesday.
And did you meet them in the regular season?
We did.
And?
We beat them 2-1.
Congratulations.
In Tecumseh.
Nice.
And cold. That was last Tuesday. Cold and rainy and awful.
No.
The Leamington Flyers won the Sutherland Cup.
Yeah, congratulations to them.
That's a big deal.
That is a big deal. They've never won it before, and they've had some really great teams over the years.
Yeah.
But
yeah, that's a provincial championship for Junior B.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
They
beat Stratford, who historically are a strong team.
Yeah. Well, that whole region, because they get all the cast-offs, right? From the
Stratford
GTA.
and Woodstock, right? The Navy vets, and was it Stratford? I know it was Culleton years ago.
Warriors, I think.
Is it now?
I think they're the Warriors. Yeah, so that was big. And I was in Oshawa over the weekend for the Ontario Jiu-Jitsu Open. So Sebastian, I wasn't competing, as you can tell, but my little guy Sebastian was competing. Sebastian did okay, but he was there representing Sengs along with a number of other competitors, and the Ontario Open as it was explained to me, I didn't know this when we were heading to Oshawa for the competition, but it is basically the Super Bowl of amateur jiu-jitsu.
Wow.
For Canada.
Wow.
It's by far the largest tournament for jiu-jitsu in Canada. There was 1,800 competitors from across the country.
Wow.
The majority obviously from Ontario, but there were lots of people who flew in. And Sangs ended up coming back with, and I think I have these numbers right, 2 gold, 6 silver, and 5 bronze.
Congratulations.
Which is, for the size of the academy there, is yes. Fantastic.
Yeah. Well, I was talking to Chad a couple of weeks ago, and I said, like, we'd be happy to share results if you can, just write them down or print them out for us, and we'll share them. So hopefully we can get even the gold medal names. We can get those and really give them some props, because that'd be cool to do. We can go back to having an athlete of the week.
Or athlete of the week.
2 weeks. That and bygone days. That's about what I miss.
Oh, Steve, we can go to the archives.
We can do it. It's open now.
Yeah,
we'll look into the archives. That. Well, thank you everyone for sticking around this long for this episode. We talked about a lot. Some stuff, some controversy, some non-controversy.
We didn't get into chloramination.
Yeah, let's do that real quick. You just made that out?
No, it's chlorine and ammonia in the water.
Yeah.
It was like a new cleaning
agent.
So it cost, Steve, do you? I believe it was $4.5 or $5 million. So you need water spent on chloramination to introduce chloramines into our water.
Okay.
Because it was supposed to eliminate the smell of chlorine in the water as a disinfectant.
But it was didn't it help break down something on the pipes too? Was that part of the reason they?
Well, that's why I believe that's why they ended up abandoning it.
Okay.
And so they're back to chlorination.
Oh boy.
Which is why your water now smells chlorine every once in a while.
Yeah.
Because it didn't really.
$4.5 million
didn't really work
down the drain.
Whoa!
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Wow. Thank you for joining us on this episode.
He sewer nailed that one. Let's end it there.
We appreciate everyone's subscribership. Please tell your friends. We're nice boys. We'd like to talk on microphones for you on the internet. So like, subscribe. Thank you to Gary Glass for production. Join us next time for another episode of That Kingsville podcast. Bunch of